Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to walk through how to install Microsoft SQL Server using Docker on Ubuntu, quickly and easily. If you're looking for a simple way to deploy SQL Server without complex setup, then this is the right video for you. Before we begin, make sure Docker and Portainer are already installed on your Ubuntu server. These tools are essential for deploying and managing SQL Server in Docker. If not yet installed, check the guide linked in the description. Let's get started. First, we'll create a dedicated folder to store Microsoft SQL Server's data and configuration. You can name the folder whatever you like, as long as it's easy to recognize and manage later. Next, create a file named dockercompose.yml inside the folder you just created. Then, open the dockercompose.yml file using the Vim editor to start configuring it. In Vim, press the A key to switch to insert mode. Then, copy the following sample content and paste it into Vim. Before moving on, let's quickly go over the content of this file. This is the definition block that contains the necessary parameters to run Microsoft SQL Server in Docker. It defines everything from the image, ports, and password to the data storage location. And this is a simple container definition that acts as a client used to send SQL commands to the Microsoft SQL Server. With this container, we can easily test connections, run queries, or check data. For a more detailed explanation of each configuration line, feel free to check the description below. Now let's save the file and exit Vim by pressing ESC, then typing X and hitting Enter. Alright, now let's start the services. With just one simple command, the containers will run in the background, and SQL Server will be ready to use once the setup is complete. On the first run, it might take a bit longer since Docker has to pull the image and set up the containers, but after that, everything will start up much faster. Alright, so we've successfully installed and started Microsoft SQL Server using Docker. Everything is now ready to go. We can check if the containers are running by using the docker ps command. If everything is working correctly, you'll see the running containers listed, including SQL Server and the client. For better visibility and easier management, you can also monitor these containers through Portainer. From there, you can view their status, logs, and even start or stop containers with just a few clicks. By default, Microsoft SQL Server listens on port 1433. If your system has a firewall enabled, you'll need to allow this port through the firewall so that other devices or applications can connect to SQL Server. If you check and see that the firewall status is inactive, you can skip this step. But in my case, the firewall is active, so we'll need to manually open port 1433. Alright, that's it. Now you can connect to your Microsoft SQL Server from a Windows client using SQL Server Management Studio. On your Windows client, make sure that SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, is already installed. If not, check the download link in the description below to get it set up. In the server name field, enter the IP address of your SQL Server, that's the Ubuntu machine running Doc. In the authentication field, select SQL Server Authentication. In the username and password fields, enter the credentials you defined in the dockercompose.yml file. Then, check the Trust Server Certificate box to bypass SSL certificate warnings. Alright, that means we've successfully configured and connected to Microsoft SQL Server from a Windows machine. By default, the mssql client container doesn't come with SQL CMD, so we won't be able to run SQL commands directly from the host. That's why we'll install this tool inside the container to run SQL commands conveniently. Alright, now we'll access the mssql client container to install SQL CMD. First, let's update the package list inside the container. Next, we need to make sure some required tools are installed. Next, we'll add Microsoft's GPG key so the system can trust and install packages from their official repository. Next, we'll add Microsoft's official package repository to the system so we can install SQL CMD and related tools. Now let's run apt update again so the system can detect the new packages from Microsoft's repository. Finally, we'll install mssql tools and Unix ODBC while also accepting the license agreement, EULA, by setting the environment variable in the command. Next, we'll add SQL CMD to the path environment variable, so you can run it from anywhere in the terminal without typing the full path. Now let's run SQL CMD to test the connection to SQL Server. We're using SQL Server as the service name and logging in with the SE account and the password we set earlier. Now let's try creating a new database called testDB. This is a quick way to confirm that everything is working as expected. After typing the create database command, don't forget to type go to execute it. If no errors show up, congratulations! You've successfully created the testDB database. Alright, now I'll switch over to SQL Server Management Studio to check if the testDB database was created successfully. Alright, the database is showing up so everything seems to be working perfectly. That's it! We've finished setting up Microsoft SQL Server on Ubuntu using Docker. Hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.